So, update for you guys. Bit of a roller coaster week. Absolutely exhausted, even after making nukes last week. We made a decision, and my colleague helped me pull 7 apiaries in one day on the Monday, because the weather looked pretty ropey for the rest of the week. So we pulled 7 apiaries, 3 in the morning, 4 in the afternoon. And from that, I have about 800 kilos of spring honey, but I've still got 4 apiaries to pull. And as you can see, the weather is absolutely dire. And if you can see those clouds up there, it's cold, it's really rainy, we've got low pressure. Look at the rain we've had. Huge amount of rain. That rain gauge isn't accurate either because it's got a crack in it, but you can probably see the wind on those trees just up there at the back. It's like continuous wind. It's just not very nice. More rain coming. I've just been out. You can see my smoke is still going on my truck there. I've just been out to take the last queen cells that were in my incubator that had hatched. So the last virgin queens. And I've just put them into my cell builder because I left my cell builder the other day in a hurry because the weather was dodgy then. And I left the space at the top of the cell builder after I yanked the cells out. First of all, let me show you this. This is our hawthorn and our bird cherry, Prunus pedis, are gone about. You see, it's finished. That is our hawthorn. Hawthorn all along here. You can see it's a very gloomy scene. It's beautiful and lush, beautiful and green, but we are done. Our spring float is finished. So I'm just going to walk you through a couple of things here. I just wanted to show you this. I've got a couple of things to show you, and one of them is obviously the cell builder, which I'm now feeding because we've gone from a massive amount of flow to absolutely nothing and bees guzzling. So I put these queens into my builder, and they're in there now. And I don't know how long they're going to live for, but if I could get 2 days, I hopefully tomorrow can make up some more Mini Plus and run those virgins into the Mini Plus that I've just made. But I really don't know, because I've already been in the incubator 3 days, but I did a little bit of a test and I allowed 5 of them to hatch out without being fed and watered. And those 5 are dead. But the other 40 I've got are all perfect. So it just proves you can keep them alive really well if you're clinical and you're clean with your incubator management. So what I did was I made sure that humidity was good. I made sure that I checked my emerging cells regularly, that none had got back up into the cells. And I made sure that they were all fed and watered, and every day twice a day they had a drop of water. So I've just come down here to feed a couple of nukes as well. These were nukes or swarms I found at apiaries, and obviously one of them has popped out yesterday afternoon, I think. But isn't that beautiful? Just wanted to show you this. This is how amazing bees are. We're like 7 degrees, it's raining, and look how incredible those bees are sitting on that tree. Now this is a dilemma for me. Do I put them in a box now? Because I think if I touch these at all, I will probably kill half of them. So I'm going to leave them as they are, but tomorrow morning or even later this evening, I will get a box and put it right alongside, and I will leave them go in if they want to. It's not a big swarm, it's probably a cast swarm containing a virgin. So I'm going to hopefully get that in a box tomorrow, and that'll be another swarm. I just want it saved. I just don't want it to be wasted, because, you know, the figures are that approximately 70% of swarms that are issued from colonies or from trees or from buildings or wherever their natural nests are don't make it into the first year. It's absolutely incredible figures. It's very sad, but that's why we're not overrun with bees everywhere. Otherwise we would be. So where are we now? Right, well, we've got perhaps a window in the weather tomorrow, but I've got to race around and put 100 supers or thereabouts back onto hives, because they're now desperate for space, but they won't be swarming really because there's just the crappy weather and there's no flow on, which is probably good in some respects. And then I've got to come and break down these. There's some more of these to break down, more than Mini Plus. So, as well as that, I've got to get the rest of my honey off, and I've got approximately 60 to 80 supers left to pull on 4 apiaries. It's not a big amount, but it's still got to be done because the clock is ticking. And I had some of the honey in the supers had crystallized, but the majority of it was in an apiary that was pretty exposed by the wind. And it just shows how that apiary with more wind, where they'd struggled to keep the honey warm, and it just contributes to that honey curing quicker. But anyway, at the moment it's in the barrel at the workshop, what I've got off. It'll pay my bills up till now. So the journey this year, being the only finance really for my beekeeping, apart from a bit from YouTube, which I can tell you isn't very much, is going okay. But I've got to keep going. I've got to get in those hives as soon as I can, get the other honey off, do queen checks. I've got to graft again next week to get more cells going, because we always need a surplus. And if I find a colony that's queenless because it's swarmed, but I cut out the cells, I've got the cells or a queen to requeen it with. That's what I like to do this time of year. If I find a colony has swarmed, I just take every single cell out. I don't mess around. I don't want to leave one cell, because to me, one cell being left is worse than leaving an F2 or an F3. So, in other words, F2 cross or F3 cross, because that will give an atrocious bee when it goes off for mates in the local environment. I would rather have an F1 that I can give them, at least there's a reasonable chance they'll be fairly nice bees and productive. And that's what I try and do. So my strategy for the next 4 weeks is going around, still doing loads of regular checks and managing those swarms that are queenless. Giving them a frame of brood if they need it, keeping them topped up, checking on the others. I've still got some queens from last week to undo the plastic tabs on the cages. I've got, I think, 25 nukes from last week to do that with, which is great. The first lot have been released. I haven't checked up on them yet because it's not a week after, but it all looks fine. So that's really what we're doing, from cold, damp, wet. It's raining again, Brittany. And I'm not moaning, but I do feel sympathy for all of the UK and Northern Europe right now, because I know in the UK there's going to be a shortage of queens this year, and the local bee producers there are desperately trying to produce their own queens, and they can't because the weather is just atrocious. They're not even to me saying things to me like, oh, well, I wonder if we'll get a harvest. They're saying things like, I wonder if we'll have any bees alive because they need feeding so much, because they're almost starving because there's not enough time to forage, because they've got big colonies like everybody. The colonies have built up, it seems, but there's just no forage for them. And they are burning stores like there's no tomorrow. And it's only when you get an exceptional weather period like this, you realise how much they actually consume as well as much they give. So I wish them all the best, and I hope we get a better window in the weather soon, because this isn't much fun. I was posting some pictures this week of a few frames of honey that I pulled. That was obviously one of the best frames I pulled out. It looked absolutely amazing. But all I'm saying is I'm considering myself lucky that I've had this little window I've had. Whether I get the rest of my honey off, I don't know. I think I will. But I've got my colleague to thank that for the first time, because we basically pulled it off. We blew the bees out the supers and we moved on to the next April. You can't hang around. And we had a warm-ish day with light winds, and the grass was cut in front of the hives and it was dry. So all the bees crawled back in. So I'm thanking my lucky stars it was that. But anyway, just an update for you. I hope you're all well, and I'll get back in touch as soon as I can. Slight thing to admit to, that I managed to, yes, believe it or not, even I did it. I actually dropped my phone in a whole barrel of honey last week. And the video I did last week was filmed a couple of days before I did it, so it had a good microphone. I'm using my son's little iPhone SE now, which has got a really good camera on it and really good audio. So in the meantime, I'm going to get one of those little Bluetooth head mics, so that'll just cover the thing till I change my phone in about 6 months' time. So there you go. It happens to all of us. I couldn't believe it happened. And when it did happen, I actually couldn't find my phone. And it was only when I found it, I found it because I heard it. I got a message from the bottom of the barrel, if you know what I mean. and it was actually still pinging away, but then I couldn't get it off the bottom of the barrel. Luckily the barrel was only a third full of honey, spring honey that was starting to crystallize, but it must have sunk down, and I was working around it. I must have put it on top of the barrel, and I moved some other things, and as they all fell in, I didn't realize my phone was amongst them, so I dragged them all out, washed everything up, sorted out the mess, and I just couldn't find my phone. And when I found it, it was actually suctioned to the bottom of the barrel. It was the most peculiar thing, and I was actually a bit stressed out when I lost it because I just couldn't understand where it could have gone. Anyway, I washed it all off, all the honey came off, and it all works perfectly except the speaker and the microphone. So shit happens. Anyway, it's not the first time it's happened, but it won't be happening again. Anyway, I leave you on that note, and I hope you have a good weekend. We've just got the Ascension weekend here in France. If you're into that kind of stuff, there's a bank holiday and call it the Pont weekend. In other words, the bridge weekend, where we're all off. Everyone's off Thursday, Friday, Saturday and Sunday. And I think the words having a bank holiday this time of year are like Greek to me. I mean, what is that? So I'll be working where I can. It's either going to be nukes, it's either going to be queens, but it'll almost certainly be pulling more honey where I can and putting supers back on. So take care. I'll catch you all again soon. Bye for now.